Okay, welcome to another thrilling installment of the Algebra 1 videos. This is section 3, and this is a section about multiplying monomials and binomials. Okay, so what we want to do is multiply a binomial by a monomial or binomial algebraically and by using geometric models. We want to identify a product that results in the difference of squares or a perfect square trinomial. Okay. So what I want to talk about first is multiplying polynomials using the distributive property. So what we'll do first is we distribute, multiply, and then we can combine like terms, okay? And so what we have here is we have a bunch of different properties that work for any polynomial, okay? And that closure property means that if you multiply two polynomials together, then you get a polynomial. You can reorder what you're doing. Okay, so you can reorder. The associative property means that you can regroup. Okay, and the distributive property we're pretty familiar with, but it's when you multiply a number from the outside of the parentheses into the inside the parentheses. So what I want to do is kind of talk about a couple things here. The one thing I really want to talk about first is the product of powers rule, and that means that if you have some number a to the m power times some number a to the n power, then you add your exponents. Okay, so when we multiply, all right, okay, that means that we add our exponents. Okay. So over here, what I have, I'm going to multiply these two things together. Now, what I have here is I have a monomial, 6 times y cubed, and I'm multiplying that by a binomial, this quantity, negative 5y plus 3. So when I multiply these through, okay, you multiply your numbers, and then you combine your variables. So what I have is I have 6 times y cubed times a negative 5, okay, and then times a y, and then I'm going to multiply that all again by, so then 6 times y cubed times 3. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to reorder this so that I put all my numbers together and put all my variables together. So I'm going to reorder this and say, okay, I'm going to take 6 times negative 5 times y cubed times y, and then I'm going to add that to 6 times 3 times y cubed. Okay, so now you multiply your numbers together. So 6 times negative 5 is going to give us negative 30. And then if I take y cubed times y, okay, my exponent up here is 1, meaning we need to add our exponents. So this is really just going to give me y to the 4th power. Okay, and then plus 6 times 3 gives me 18. And then I have y cubed. And this is my answer. Okay, this is the product. All right, and so it's a little bit tricky, you know, combining some of these variables and stuff, but, you know, if you follow this process of, okay, I'm going to multiply everything together, reorder it so I have my numbers on one side, my variables on the other, then it's not so bad. Okay, and it gets to the point where you'll be able to do this in your head pretty quick, okay, but you just got to practice. All right, so we have this other thing called Algebra Tiles, and Algebra Tiles is a geometric model, to multiply these together, okay? And so what you end up having here, let's just say that you had this, that you had 2x, okay, times x minus 2, okay? And that's what that means, okay? When I have this x here and this x, two of them means that I have 2x, okay? And this is an x, and if I have two negative tiles here, then that means I have a minus 2, okay? And so what you can do, and what we found out here is that, you know, if you look at what you have, I have an x squared and I have an x squared. This means I'm going to have 2x squared, okay? X times x gives you x squared. X times x gives you x squared. And then you multiply the x times 1, which gives you negative x, or I'm sorry, negative 1. X times negative 1 gives you negative x, okay? Same thing here. X times negative 1, negative x times negative 1, negative x. So what you have here is you have a minus 4x. Okay, and that's your answer, all right? And that's by doing a geometric model. So we can do this as a, using these algebra tiles, and you'll be able to use this on the computer and move them around and stuff like that. And so let's go ahead and multiply this out, and let's just kind of do this the algebra way. So if I take 2x times x and then 2x times negative 2, well, let's show that. Let's see what we get. I get 2x times x, and then minus 2x times 2. Okay, now my x's are put together, okay? And if I take x times x, that's going to give me x squared. So I've got 2x squared, and then over here I'm going to do minus 2 times 2 and then times an x. Negative 2 times 2 gives me negative 4, so I get 2x squared minus 4x, and that's my answer. So we can do this, provided that you're given an algebraic or a geometric model like the algebra tiles, you can do it this way, or you can just simply do the algebra way. But you should, be able to do both ways to make sure that you're getting the right thing. This is more of a visual representation of what you're doing, and this is the algebraic method. Okay, the next one is called multiplying polynomials using the box method. And what we're going to do, I like the box method. I've recently just learned the box method, and it kind of helps me. We're multiplying right now. What we'll start doing later on is we'll go backwards and we'll start to, we'll take this and we'll write this. All right, usually now we're just multiplying through. But what I want to do is kind of show you how this works. And so if we're multiplying two binomials, okay, if I were multiplying, say, the binomial x plus 10 times the binomial 9x minus 3, okay, what I can do is I can put this in a box. And so if I put these two terms, okay, x and the 10, here and here, and then the 9x minus 3 over here, then I can kind of multiply across. So what I end up getting, I get 9x times x, which gives me 9x squared, okay, and then I take 9x plus 10 to give me 90x, okay. Do the same thing for the negative 3. If I take negative 3 times x, it's going to give me negative 3x, and then negative 3 times 10 gives me negative 30, okay. What I can then do is add my like terms here, okay, 90x plus negative 3x gives me 87x, and then we can just, that's negative 87, or no, just positive 87x. So then we have add those, and that one, and so we get a new thing called a trinomial, okay? So let's go ahead and do that thing for this model over here, okay? So I'm going to multiply this binomial, and so I'm going to do my first binomial, and I'm going to do negative 2v, so put my negative 2v, and then my 1 here, okay? And then this other binomial, 3v minus 5, put my 3v down here, and then I put my negative 5, okay? So now I need to take 3v times negative 2v and multiply those together, and that's what goes in this box here. So if I take negative 2 times 3, that's going to give me a negative 6, okay? If I take v times v, that's going to give me v squared, all right? Now on the next one, okay, 3v times 1, that's just going to give me 3v, okay? On the next one, okay, let's multiply negative 5 by everything. So I'm going to take negative 5 times negative 2v. So negative 5 times negative 2 is going to give me positive 10, and then v. And then we're going to do negative 5 times 1, which gives me negative 5, okay? Now what I can do, all right, I want to combine my like terms, and those like terms are going to go in these boxes here. So if I take 3v plus 10v, that's going to give me 13v. Okay, so we're just adding those together. So what we end up getting here is we get, if I multiply these together, I'm going to get negative 6v squared plus 13v, okay, and then a minus 5. All right, and that's it. Okay, that's what we're doing. Okay, so now let's take a look at another method. So, you could feel free to use the box method to multiply things together if that's what you like. Okay, if you don't want to do that, you don't have to, all right? But I'm going to provide you with another method of using the distributive property to find the product of negative 7n minus 4 and 3 plus 2n. So let's do this. Let's write that over here. I'm going to do let me zoom in, negative 7n minus 4, okay, put that in parentheses, and then 3 plus 2n, okay, so then I've got 3 plus 2n, right, is that right? Okay, so what I want to do here, it says use a distributive property to find. So what, you know, there's a couple different ways, but what we like to show you guys is this method called FOIL. Okay, and FOIL, all right, stands as an acronym, and the F stands for, we multiply the first ones together, the first terms, we multiply the outside terms, we multiply the inside terms, and then we multiply the last terms, okay? So now, if I multiply the first terms, what I do is I draw like an arc from negative 7n to 3, okay? And so what I then do is I take negative 7n times 3, okay? Now, let's multiply the outside ones. I'm going to draw an arc from negative 7n to positive 2n. So I'm going to do plus negative 7n times 2n. Okay, I'm going to multiply the inside term, so negative 4 times 3, so plus negative 4 times 3, and then I'm going to multiply the last terms together, so negative 4 times 2n. So minus plus negative 4 times 2n. Okay, so now I'm going to multiply everything, and so, you know, take negative 7 times 3, multiply your numbers. This is going to give me negative 21n, okay? Now, on the next one, I'm going to take negative 7 times 2, so that gives me negative 14, and then n times n gives me n squared, okay? The next one, I'm going to take negative 4 times 3, so I'm going to get negative 12, and then negative 4 times 2 times n is going to give me minus 8n. Okay, now I have to think about the terms that I can combine, and combine my like terms. So if I'm looking for terms that have the same variable raised to the same exponent, so I have negative 21n here, and I have a negative 8n here. Okay, if I add those together, that's going to give me negative 29n. Okay, so but let's put this into standard form. Let's, before I do that, all right, let's put this into standard form. I'm going to have my leading coefficient, negative 14n squared. Then I'm going to put my term here. So negative 21n minus 8n is going to give me negative 29n. And then a minus 12. And I have multiplied this together, okay? Now, you could still do the box method on this and get the same thing, okay? This is just another method that we use called FOIL, okay? All right, the next one I want to do is show multiplying multivariable polynomials using the distributive property. So let's go ahead and let's do this down here, all right? I'm going to FOIL this. I'm going to multiply the first terms together. So I've got 2y times y. I'm going to multiply the outside terms together. So plus 2y times a negative x. Okay, multiply my inside terms, so plus a negative x times y. And then my last terms to give me a positive x times x. Okay, negative x times a negative is going to give me a positive, so I just made that step right there. All right, so now I've got this. All right, I'm going to take 2y times y. Y times y gives me y squared. So this is going to give me 2y squared. Okay, minus, and so when I have a negative out here, it's like negative 1 times 2. Okay, so negative 1 times 2 is going to give me negative 2. And then I'm just going to do yx. Okay, then over here I've got a negative xy. I can flip those around to make it look like this. And so I'm just going to put that as a minus yx, and then my plus x squared, or plus x times x, which is x squared. Okay, so these two terms I can combine. They have a common y and an x. Okay, so remember, I'm just going to keep my variables and add my numbers. So I've got 2y squared minus 3 times y times x, and then plus an x squared. Okay, and I'm going ahead and call that done. Okay, I don't need to do anything else with that, all right? So, you know, it may be a daunting task, guys, but, you know, once you understand how this all flows and works, okay, I do this the same way every single time, okay? So let's go ahead and take a look at some special products, and some of these, the special products that I have here, the difference of squares, perfect square trinomials, and perfect square trinomials using addition, and then perfect square trinomials using subtraction. Okay, so let's talk about the difference of squares. What I have here, the first one is that if I take a binomial with opposite signs, okay, so you have the same values A, and B, but you have opposite signs, okay, then what's going to happen is you're just going to get A squared minus B squared, okay? So let's go ahead and take a look at how that works, okay? And let's just do some of these examples are kind of tricky. Let's just do this. Let's do x plus 2 times x minus 2, okay? Let's just keep it simple for right now. All right, so what I would do, okay, I'd FOIL this out. I'm going to take x times x, which gives me x squared. Okay, I'm going to take x times negative 2, which gives me minus 2x. I'm going to do 2 times x, which gives me plus 2x. And then 2 times negative 2 gives me minus 2 times 2. Okay, so if I have x squared, okay, that works. I have negative 2x plus a 2x. Now, if I add those two together, they're going to cancel out and give me 0. Okay, if you take something and add its opposite, it's going to give you 0. So negative 2 plus 2 is 0. Carry the x, you just get 0x. So this part goes away. And that's what's unique about this whole opposite thing, the opposite signs here. That's what's going to happen. So then you get this. You end up getting x squared minus 2 squared, okay, which is going to give you x squared minus 4. Okay, but notice how this was, if this was your a value, okay, notice you have a squared. Okay, if this is your b value, notice how you have minus b squared. Okay, and that's it. All right, so that's an easy one. Let's look at one that's a little bit more tricky, and let's multiply this out. Okay, now I'm going to bet you, okay, and let's just kind of look at it. This value here was my a, so a is equal to negative 2x. This value here is my b, so a and b. So if I take a squared minus b squared, this is going to give me the quantity negative 2x squared minus 8 squared, okay? And that's going to give me 4x squared minus 64. So when we multiply this out, we should get 4x squared minus 64. Now, I'm just following the formula that they gave us. But let's go ahead and multiply this out using our FOIL method. So I'm going to take negative 2x times negative 2x. So negative 2x times negative 2x. Multiply my outside terms together. That's going to give me, and let's do this. Let's do plus negative 2x times negative 8x. My inside terms, let's do that as 8 times negative 2x. And then my outside terms, or my last terms, we're going to do plus 8 times negative 8. Okay, so if I take negative 2 times negative 2, it's going to give me positive 4. X times x is going to give me x squared. Okay, this part here, negative 8 times negative 2, is going to give me positive 16x. Okay, 8 times negative 2, this is going to give me negative 16x. And then 8 times negative 8, is negative 64. All right, so now let's think about it. All right, if I've got 16x minus 16x, that middle section is going to go away. It's going to add to 0. So then what I end up having here is I get 4x squared minus 64. Okay, so, rule of thumb is if, go ahead and just FOIL everything out, that's fine, but there are faster methods using these special properties of the difference of squares. Okay, so whatever you want to do. All right, the next one, you can follow the same pattern of using the formula, but I typically just write things out, okay? And so when I have, here's the big thing. When you have the quantity, a plus b squared, that means that you have a plus b times a plus b, all right? So do not do this. Do not do this and say a plus b quantity squared is equal to a squared plus b squared. No! Do not do that. Okay? That is incorrect. Okay? We don't do that. We have to do a plus b times a plus b. All right? So let's go ahead and just do that real quick and multiply this out. I could rewrite this as 7x plus 2, the whole quantity squared, okay? But, if we're going to multiply this out, then we need to write it as two binomials. All right, so I'm going to do 7x times 7x, so 7x times 7x. I'm going to do 2, so then plus 2 times 7x, okay? And then plus 2 times 7x, and then 2 times 2 on the outside. Okay, so 7 times 7 is 49. X times x is x squared, okay? 2 times 7x is going to give me plus 14x. 2 times 7x is going to give me plus 14x. And then 2 times 2 is plus 4. So 14 plus 14 is going to give me 28x plus 4 and then plus 49x squared. And that's my answer, okay? Now, what they have here, notice what they have. They have this a squared, so your first term, plus 2 times ab plus b squared. So that's the same thing that I got here. You get 2 of these ab terms, which is just going to happen like that. Okay, let's take a look at the perfect square trinomial where we subtract. Okay, so again, all right, a minus b quantity squared is really a minus b times a minus b. So, do not do this. Okay, don't do a minus b squared and then all of a sudden say, oh, that's just going to give me a squared minus b squared. No! No! You can't do that. Okay, do not do this. All right, you have to make sure that if you have something squared that you are multiplying it by itself twice. Okay, so now let's go ahead and look over here. If I've got g minus 10 squared, okay, then I'm going to rewrite this as g minus 10 times g minus 10. That's the first step. Anytime you see something like that, do that. Then we come in here and we can multiply these. And so I've got g times g. Negative 10 plus g gives me minus 10g. Okay, negative 10 times g gives me minus 10g. And then negative 10 times negative 10 gives me, let me do this, positive 10 times 10. All right, so if I've got g times g, that's going to give me g squared. Okay, minus 10g gives me minus 20g, and then plus 100, okay? And so that's it, all right? That's all I need to do when I multiply those through, okay? Now, one thing that if you're doing this right, when you're doing the FOIL right, and I'm going to do this down here, just watch. Okay, if I've got, say, x plus 2 times x plus 3, when you multiply these out and you do your FOIL, okay, and when you do that, if you multiply your first terms, your outside terms, your inside terms, and your last terms, you end up getting what's called Monkeyface, okay? So when you're doing this, okay, if you get a Monkeyface, and if you don't see the face yet, here, let me draw in the rest of this mouth here and give this some teeth. Okay, let me put some ears on this guy. Let me give it some eyes. Okay, and then let's draw a monkey. Okay, here's that. Here's a little bit of hair. And then, here's the rest of the body. Okay, and this is exactly how a monkey looks. And they've got a little tail here. And that's that, okay? So if you get that, you're doing it right, okay? So that's one way to remember how to do FOIL or Monkeyface or the box method, whatever you choose. I know it's kind of a tricky lesson, but you guys are doing a great job. See you in a bit. Thanks. Bye.